Give me a nod when you're ready. Shooter's ready. Stand by.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Gunlock from the 3GIQ podcast. I have Frank Gow, my co-host, on here, and we have our guest, Alex Goking. I think everybody here is already familiar with who he is, but he just kind of held a PCSL 3-gun match. It was really successful, really fun match. And before we start asking him questions, I just wanted to kind of talk with Frank for a bit and ask him some things. So, Frank, obviously, this is your reintroduction into 3-gun. It's been a while for you. Can you kind of tell us what your thoughts on the match were? Kind of, because how long has it been since you've even shot a 3-gun match at this point?
I would say probably since you introduced 3-gun to the 2021 championships.
Okay, so it's it's been a while, and before that, the last time you really did it was in California when you were stationed out there, right?
I shot one. I think the range was called like Walnut Grove or something. It was out near Charlotte, and I shot it with some friends. I borrowed a shotgun, so that was really the last time I shot it.
Okay, and so instead of going the traditional route this time and just starting out with TAC Ops, you decided to go straight into open, and you bought yourself a Dissident Arms. So what kind of promulgated that whole thing?
Several impetus. One, I went out to your place and tried to get the shotgun working, and it just didn't run. And you were like, polish this. I'm like, all right. I mean, I can do that. And then I was like, do I really want to learn to quad load? And then I started watching videos of dudes shooting Dissident Arms shotguns, and I was like, that looks like a lot of fun. I already shoot open in USPSA, so I might as well embrace the lifestyle and just go full open.
Okay. No. I love reloading shotguns. Sometimes it can be a bane of my existence. Other times it can be one of the most beautiful experiences in the world. I think Alex Goking will agree with that. Loading shotgun can be fun, but no, I mean, with the Dissident, it just looks so much fucking fun, just going fast. What has been the learning curve with shooting a Dissident Arms, at your first match? And we're about to go to another match this weekend down in North Carolina, a Zoo City match.
You have to be a lot more secure with your mount, just like the weld and everything, holding that thing. Like, it still bucks a fair amount, especially with slugs. And then for those of you that are watching the video of this, there's these, I fucked up my finger pretty bad, because if you don't grab that magazine in the right spot, you're literally going to slam your hand into that mag well as you try to do a reload. Not only that, it's an AK pattern, so it's a little challenging to be effectively running 3 separate weapon systems, right? An AR, a pistol, and then now an AK style rifle or shotgun, as you were, which you have to remember different reloads, different indexes, where it's going on your belt. And I've dry fired trying to reload that 20-round mag, and I'm literally like almost reaching all the way down to my kneecap in order to hit the right part of the magazine and get the reload in just right. So a lot of that stuff has taken some time to learn, but I'm willing to dedicate the time towards it.
Oh, that's awesome. And so
I'll kick it off.
Yeah, absolutely.
So PCSL has been around for a little bit. How long have you been thinking of trying to pull off a PCSL match, Alex?
I can't really remember what month it was, but I remember, I think I was listening to a podcast, actually. I think it was one of the ones on PSTG, and Max was talking about his new league and all that stuff. And then kind of like listening to some of the stuff he was talking about. One of the things that I liked about the K targets. The K targets were the first things that caught my eye. It's like, what is that thing? That looks like fun to shoot at. And what is this K zone? Wait, I can get 2 alphas with 1 shot. I'm not going to do it, but that sounds awesome. And listening to kind of his philosophy and stuff. And it kind of helps when you're the guy, he's one hell of a PCC guy, made Bumpfire cool. Like I tuned into it and I started looking up the rules and what he was doing, following their social media. And I was just like, this is really cool and accessible, like practical division. Who would have thought of a multi-gun freaking production division? That's I thought that was pretty wild, and I kept tuning in, and then at some point I was just like, we need to start that stuff here, because like it's essentially a match where you can still be competitive using issued weapons and issued ammo, and going out and smoking people like John Treat did, and that's a sore subject. So we'll move on.
So just to talk real quick about that. So John Treat, for those of you who don't know, he's one of the pistol team guys. He's never shot a multi-gun match in his life. He went out there with an IAR, an infantry automatic rifle with essentially an HK 416, heavy ass motherfucker. He went out there with a Benelli M4. You can only hold 6 rounds in the tube. And he brought out a Sig Sauer P320 Legion. Yeah. And he kicked everybody's ass pretty much. He's a solid shooter though. And typically I say whenever you're a solid pistol shooter, you're going to be a solid rifle shooter, and you're going to have everything down packed. He's very surgical with what he does. And it was pretty cool to watch him.
And if Treat's listening, I want you to know that you've rolled your last tide. This next match.
So, Alex, can you kind of give us some of the wave tops on the planning, the logistics, and execution of the match?
Absolutely. So besides the usual and Major Hitchak, like for those who don't know, he's our operations officer over at Weapons Training Battalion. He was like without like you know how some people mentor you but they give you a lot of grief. He gave me no grief. He just told he helped me run the match, and he helped me start planning, and he was like, hey, you need to start putting out the friggin' registration now. And I was like at an airport at Seattle, and I was like, he's right. So pulled out my laptop freaking at that the Space A freaking terminal, started hacking away and giving me a heads up on like as the match started to roll in a little bit harder. Here's our match roster, take it to the visitor center, all that stuff. And that's honestly, like, if you ask me, this type of admin stuff is not my specialty. When I first met Major Hitchak, he was like, you want to do stage design? And I was like, great. Yeah, I like that stuff. And then he said, cool, because I do all the boring meeting admin stuff. And I was like, cool, that's exactly the stuff I don't want to do. So for this match, I had to do some things that I did not want to do, and just get used to it, get the motions done. But those things, plus making sure people got the right emails, knew what to bring to the match, that was the stuff that wasn't like, I don't really like do as much, but I'm going to be doing it from now on. But the stage design, like getting stuff like, how do I take a one-dimensional bay and figure it out, like that was a part that I actually enjoy. I was freaking out the week rolling into the match. I can tell you that I lost some sleep, and I'm pretty sure my immune system went down because like anyone here who's ran a big event, Matt, I don't know if you've ever ran a big event before. Oh wait, a fuck ton of big so freaking. So like I was freaking out. Like I think the guys at work might have noticed it. Like I was on edge the whole time. Like I was just like, and so I had the guys like, hey, you guys, to help me out. I told the guys, you want 2 free matches? I need you to help me build stages throughout the week. And that worked out good because I was able to troubleshoot ahead of time. And that was like the heaviest thing. We used every single wall in the Quantico practical shooters like ISO container, every freaking wall. So I was repairing everything. We were repairing everything we could find, using whatever we could, using just about all the barrels. But building all that took a little bit. I remember after I sent the Marines home, like on Friday before, I was in the office like for an additional hour, and I was back on the range because I was just like, okay, I'm going to keep stressing about this unless I go out there. So I did some modifications, but logistically, that was the heaviest thing, getting the stages to work. Cause it's also kind of my fault. I put a lot of pressure on myself because I'm the guy freaking criticizing everybody's like stages. Like, oh, the guy didn't think about this part, did he? And then here I am like telling myself, oh my gosh, it is so easy to not think about this stuff right now. I better go freaking look at the stages again, look at the freaking fault lines. And yeah, it was nerve wracking. I was terrified, as well as scared. So that was the days leading up.
So, we all know whenever you put a plan on paper, like draw stage design on paper, there's going to be differences what's on paper compared to what's actually put on the ground. Did you have to make any improvisations throughout the week of that match?
Absolutely. One, I had to change stuff pretty fast because I met up with range control, just making sure that my ducks were in a row. I confirmed a few things. I had to make some adjustments to my stage design for sure, even like long before we set up the first wall. But on the day, there were some things that had to be done. Like I had to push certain targets in a better spot, cut a bunch of walls down. But you can plan all you want, even with a 3D stage builder, even if you make like a perfect representation of the bays. Like things will always look different. And I think I was already prepared for that because all the USPSA matches that I've helped set up the past year and a half. So like I just knew it was going to be different, but that's where the setup day, that's where it's just normal for me to be jumping from one bay to another, looking at stuff. Hey, move that over here. Hey, don't stake that yet. Okay, cool. Stake that now. So there were definitely a bunch of adjustments I had to make because my PowerPoint does not account for the 30-degree cone of fire that we are authorized to use. So yeah, there was a lot of moving parts for sure on that.
I have a quick follow on. You mentioned talking to range control and coordinating with them. How much help, and I know you specifically talked to Marty Dankinich, and like in my whole time on the team there, the 4.5 years, he's a crusty old bastard and he can be grumpy at times. And quite honestly, he's a good friend of mine. How was working with him and coordinating with him, and what benefit did you see at the end of the day by doing the coordination with him?
So number one thing, like I haven't really worked with Mr. Dankinich a whole lot. I heard a lot of stories from you. I know some people have gotten on his bad side, but my initial and like enduring opinion of Marty Dankinich is he is an enabler. He wants to enable us to do our stuff, and he wants to make sure that we can do everything we need to do as long as it fits within the rules. And one of the things he told me, which is very much what you told me, like letting him know what we're trying to do ahead of time, having that open communication. Like for some people, that might be, some people might take it as like, oh, he wants to have a magnifying glass on everything. But the way I saw it was like, he wants to allow us to do what we have to do, but also protect us in the event that something happens. There's always going to be a bigger, some bigger fish that's in charge of this massive school of stuff that's going on. And I appreciated that, he does what he does so that we can do things and can be protected legally with what we're doing. And I am totally for it because that's, I get myself in trouble all the time, that like my first day on teams, I showed up late and then I had a stern talking to by Matt Gunlock. I can do that to myself, but whenever I get somebody else in trouble, when I get somebody else in hot water, I lose a lot of sleep over things like that. I cannot handle getting somebody else messed up because of something I did. So I'm like, hey, he's going to protect us, but I'm also here to protect my leadership. So
I'm sorry. I just have a quick thing to say. So, for those listeners, especially the military ones, I ask these questions and I bring these questions out because, to me, if you're dealing with range control, a lot of people, they don't like range control. but they are there to enable you, and they're also there for the safety. Um, so you need to allow them to enable you and allow them to get you to a yes, or allow them to come to a yes. That way you can do exactly what you're looking at. And it's not just with hosting a match, that's with regular military training at that. So, come with a good plan. Don't just come with something written on a paper, or just, talk to them. Come with a PowerPoint that shows exactly what you're going to be performing on whatever range you're going to be doing, because that's going to give them the visual aid that they need to see exactly what you're going to do, and allow you to conduct the training to get your Marines properly trained.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my experience with Camp Lejeune range control specifically is Tom Karate. He wanted us to train. He wanted, like Alex said, he wanted to be an enabler. There was one instance in which I had some rifle training plans, and he actually recommended a different range. He's like, dude, this isn't going to get you what you want. I recommend that you put in a request for this range. I know for a fact that no one has it for this week. And what Matt said is absolutely spot on. Yeah, bring your LOI. They're going to want to see the LOI. But if you're doing anything, even if you're doing something simple, just put some targets on a PowerPoint and put some lines of fire. Just show them how many people are going to be firing side to side, just so they have an idea of what you're doing.
Oh yeah, and on Matt, I showed Mr. Dankinich that PowerPoint that I showed you that one time.
Mm-hmm.
He liked it. He said it was the most detailed PowerPoint he's ever seen. I was just trying to make a video game of the course of fire, like pew,
Nice.
pew.
Well, I talked to him the same day that you went and talked to him. He was like, "Yeah, I saw your boy Alex today." I was like, "Oh yeah, how'd that go?" He's like, it was very productive, and like the dude's freaking legit. He knows what he's talking about, and he's got better PowerPoint skills than you ever had. I was like, that's because he's Asian.
What can I say? I'm pogue as fuck.
Don't make PowerPoint an Asian thing. Come on. There's already enough stereotypes, right? Like I can't be a bad driver and good at math and good at video games and PowerPoint. Like I just don't want those four things in conjunction with each other.
Are you any of those four?
Fuck, I guess I'm good at PowerPoint. I'm an officer though. It's more of an officer than. So yeah. I mean, you talked about the relationship with Tim Hedchak a little bit. Did you have any coordination with like PCSL proper? Did you reach out to Max at any point for any coordination or questions?
Absolutely. The first time I reached out to Max was actually not directly related to PCSL. I think that conversation that I had with him would probably also help in leading to having us do PCSL over at Quantico Practical Shooters. But I told him, like, hey, man, I'm just going to let you know. We hold these things called Marine Corps marksmanship competitions, and I'm 100% going to steal your K-Zone idea for our matches, and I just want to give you a heads up, And he was just like, no, dude, that's perfectly awesome, man. Like, yeah, go for it, do it. And I was like, hell yeah. And then I applied that in the mix, and it made things a lot more it definitely added like an interesting option for some of the stages we did. Kind of like, hey, here's a 32 round course of fire. You can reload if you want, but you don't have to. You just got to hit somebody in the face a couple times. Then I kind of like had a conversation with him and like asked about like, what is there like any kind of like affiliation type thing? And he was like, for now, no. I was like, cool, that's all I need to know. And I was just like, okay, cool. Maybe one day there will be, but right now I'm going to 100% capitalize on it. So started planning and started watching what they did. And after the Hard as Hell, the videos from Hard as Hell and the PCSL 2-gun championship, I was just like, okay, we can do this. We must. And that was that was just about as much coordination besides like going over rules and stuff. One thing Max told me, it's like, hey, these are the rules, but don't feel like you can't deviate from them. And I think the cool thing about Max is he's from both worlds, USPSA and 3-gun, and PCSL is essentially like a mix of both worlds, like taking out some excessive stuff out of the USPSA rule book, but at the same time, he wants to give that flexibility that we see in a lot of 3-gun matches, like which I see as like, awesome. Like, like just one example. Cool. We have a safe area. we also have 3 guns, and 2 of them are huge.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand at a USPSA match, yeah, operate your firearm over at the safe area, but at a 3-gun match, like that safe area is going to be clogged as fuck, and like generally, like with a long gun, it's harder for the muzzle to do weird things, anyways. And like, and a lot of people are typically invested, and they're not going to do anything stupid. So, and that's kind of like what we rely on. So I like that balance that Max made with his league.
Yeah. For those of you listening that don't know who Max Legrandis is, he's the only PCC champion that's ever existed within USPSA. He's the only person who's ever won that national championship. And it's also interesting to me that, like, he designed the target, but he also told you, like, yeah, go and use it for Marine Corps things, go use it for different things, because the whole reason that he started PCSL, well, he had an idea and he ran it by the USPSA president at the time. And that president told him, like, do what you want, just don't use our target and don't use our rules. And Max was like, okay. So it's good that he's being so, I guess,
I didn't know that.
He's being so democratic with the targets. And they're really good targets. I like the fact that they are shorter, which makes it, easier on shipping and easier on logistics, and allows you to like pack in more in a small space. And I also think they're more challenging. There's not a big honking A zone like in the US.
Oh yeah, that A zone is not big.
Yeah, it's not, which forces accuracy, but people are still like ripping really, really fast. So, this last weekend was an awesome experience. I shot on both days. I wanted to be a part of it, this inaugural event. There's been an outpouring of positive feedback for PCSL 3 and 2 gun in this area from all the shooters. What are you most proud of looking back on the weekends in terms of like successfully introducing this new shooting scene to the Northern Virginia area?
So I think a lot of us here are very similar, especially competitive shooters. I don't really have a habit of patting myself on the back. So when you asked about like even after showing me like the script, like the topics ahead of time, like I don't know what necessarily I'm proud of. I just wanted to start stuff, but like the first thing that comes into my mind is the Marine Corps shooting team. I don't want to get into like the past too much, but we had representatives from the pistol team, the 3-gun team, and the rifle team. And we were just out there. Everybody wanted to shoot. Everyone wanted to have fun. We pulled some Benelli M4s out just because other guys wanted to shoot as well. That is the one thing that as much as I was I might have been addicted to them a bunch of times when we were like setting up the stages. I was like, no, move that over there.
You're a match director, dude.
Yeah, so
they get it.
I had and they were out there freaking helping out, working, like just doing stuff. And on match day, like even the rifle team guys, they could have easily said like, yeah, freaking, it was fun. But a couple of these guys saw, and they were like, they saw like, I need to work on this. I need to get better at pistol. But just seeing the entire team there, which, I love the guys over on teams. Like it was, that was a happy moment for me, as well as seeing like in the realm of happy moments, seeing freaking Matt, seeing Don, like seeing Jeremy Leitner, seeing all those guys. And I'm missing a couple names now because there's a bunch out there. Oh yeah. Freaking Graham. Like I'm only used to seeing these guys when it's hot and humid. What are they doing in my vicinity when it's cold? And it's cold enough to where Don O'Beer's wearing long pants, which that did not click in my head. Like he's usually wearing like freaking silky looking freaking khaki pants. Like, so that was a pretty happy moment for me.
Well, what was also cool for me? It's like, I'm seeing guys that I normally, like you said, seeing guys that you would normally see on the 3-gun circuit, but it's like, we had Brandon Wolf and Jay Schaff come up from North Carolina. We had Graham Gregory come out from Richmond, Williamsburg area, and Brian Nelson was there too. And so after the match, it was kind of like, in a sense, a major because
yes.
As soon as we were done, we all linked up afterwards and just went out and had dinner and just hung out for a couple hours. And that's it's kind of a nice experience just to get together and hang out with your boys after a local match.
Yep. And I should have guessed because at the end of the match, after we packed up, I was yelling pretty loud. Hey, where the fuck's Matt? Where's Matt? Where the fuck? I was like, do you have a bad match or something? And I was like, he's probably having dinner. That makes sense.
I did
And
have a
called
bad
us-
match. I did have a bad match though.
Okay, so at least that's at least I confirmed that. And then that's when I called you. Where you at? And then you were like, "Oh, I'm having dinner." I was like, "Oh no, that makes sense." Like, very good.
Let's see how. On one stage, I had 3 misses. Another stage, I had a miss, and then another stage, I had a miss. So I had 25 seconds in penalties. I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "How the fuck does this happen?" I've never had that many misses in a match, like in fucking years. I was like, "Fuck, I got to start practicing again."
So no, your shots were there, but they're where the shots would have been the missing side. Like if you were to deduct a USPSA target from a K target, your shots were there.
I missed. Quit trying to make me feel better. Let me sulk in my depression. I fucking missed.
Oh my god.
But what you should be proud of, Alex, is that the match went well. But more importantly, people enjoyed themselves, and everyone who wasn't. I've seen a lot of comments online from people who weren't there, like, "Hey, like, where was this? I didn't know about this. When's they're already asking about the next match." So I think just based on comments on Instagram and just what I've seen so far, like obviously there's things that you want to tighten up and do better next time.
100%.
A lot of very positive support. You're a volunteer, like this isn't going to show up on a fit rep or anything. You're not getting paid extra. How important is it for someone like you, a match director, to hear feedback, positive feedback, negative feedback, but just in general feedback as a match director?
So like, oh yeah, you're right. Especially about the part that I ain't getting shit from this. You know, like for anyone who's wondering, we don't get anything from running these matches. It's out of sheer love for the community and the sport. But it was crazy. Like I kind of had a hunch that this was going to be a match that people would enjoy. But to the extent that I saw, like everyone was just like, I'm still losing my mind, making sure stuff goes in the ISO containers and having people come up and be like, "Hey man, this is a really good match. This was really fun. Hey man, like what shotgun should I get?" Or like, and I'm just like sitting there like, okay, I am not prepared for this feedback right now. Like,
Right.
It was wild. It definitely made the lost sleep worth it. Like, oh my gosh, these guys had fun. Because I mean, that's why I did the stuff for the USPSA match. I want people to go home saying like, that was a fun match. I spent my 20 something bucks for, a good reason. And or like people like are getting like that extra training. Cause I make that on purpose. It's just like, I want you to do different, different types of shooting throughout the whole match. And it was wild. It was definitely really, really wild. Like that exhausted me to a point from everyone just like, happy about the match, because that was the goal. Like, this is therapy for us. Like you, me, Matt, these matches are what keep us, energized in life. And on the note of volunteers, like, for a majority of volunteers, a thank you is like beyond freaking what we would expect. And to take it to the next level, I think the best way to appreciate volunteers is to go volunteer yourself as well. That being said, we do have a sign up for setup crew. So, just keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Just, help out, at your local match. Like people don't, it doesn't seem like a whole lot, but it is a whole lot. Like I know Matt has some experience running like a major 3-gun match, and there was a shortage of help for sure. And that's rough. That is really rough. Like, just like anything else, like an operation, you have certain people with certain billets. And it sucks when you're that one person trying to do all those billets all at once. Like, you obviously can't be setting up while proofing stages at the same time. Like it just gets really weird. So yeah, I think that's the best thing people can do. Go and volunteer, go help your match, regardless of the sport. Like whether it's a 3-gun major, a 3-gun local, if you're in the area, hop in. 9 times out of 10, the MD is going to be like, "Hey, match fees on us," and you're going to be like, "Sweet, tight. I can afford another freaking 24 rack." That's rad. It's a big deal, especially if you think about it that way.
Well said.
So you deliberately held back on some of the PCSL rules, such as hot holstering, for this match. Do you see yourself lighting up on future matches?
100%.
Good.
Matt, just in case, if ever you make fun of gamers ever again, know that you are 100% a gamer based off of that. Yeah. No. So I had some reservations just because, like, just kind of like during my morning briefs, I was like, hey, everyone, like, at a normal 3-gun match at an open at a private range, you slug steel or you send freaking a rifle round in steel, like at steel below like freaking 75 yards, like, yeah, you're going home, that's it. But over on our side, when something bad happens, it's a lot bigger of a deal. And that was one of the things that I did not want to risk for this match, hot holstering, because it was advantageous to a certain extent on a lot of the stages. But at the same time, it's like we already had cases where some new shooters were trying to chase after some of the big dogs, freaking doing some wild stuff, and absolutely freaking it didn't end really well for them. And the last thing I wanted to do was somebody to reholster a freaking like a striker fired pistol and not realize that they had their finger on the trigger. But my goal is for the next match to set the match up to where even where situations where shooters are going to hot holster, or where it's beneficial at the very least, they're doing it with less like secondary and tertiary tasks while they're executing a stage. So I think that would be 100% doable for the next one. What's not going to be doable, however, is slinging a gun that was once loaded. So well, I'll work on that too. Make sure to see what I can do to make that happen. But yes, we're going to get this was a little bit of a beta test, not just for the community, but for myself as well. I have a lot to learn, but I think by the next match, I'll have learned enough to be able to accommodate that. I think it'll be pretty cool as well, because it sure beats throwing my honcho in a thing. So it'll be weird.
You don't want to yeet your open gun into a box?
I don't want to yeet my open gun. I don't have yeet open gun money.
Understandable. And you also you did wait for a long ass time for Phoenix Trinity to get you that honcho.
I did, but at least when I actually told them they kind of like told me, hey, there's gonna be at least a 6-month wait, and I did my math on how long it's gonna be before it's like I never even purchased one, because I'm pretty frugal. And I was like, no, you guys take your time, freaking, I won't need it within 6 months anyways. And gun came over and thing runs. I'm pretty happy about that. Probably saved me some 38 super comp money in the process while waiting.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of good things about this PCSL rule set, and we were actually able to put one of them into action this last weekend. I had a stage where I finished running it, and then we moved on to the next stage. I look in the tablet because I'm the scorekeeper, and it says 38.08 seconds. And that doesn't seem quite right to me, so I look at my video recording from that stage, and the video has me running that stage in about 30 seconds. Simple error, right? The 0s and the 8s are pretty close to each other on the number pad. So PCSL allows you to use video evidence in order to challenge a call. So I shot you a text, you came over, and I said, hey, like, this is what it says in the tablet. This is what I have on my phone. I showed you the video, I showed you the tablet, you examined both, and then you made a change to the score based on what was actually on the phone. So what do you think of the way that PCSL implements that particular rule? And is that something that you'd want to see in a lot of other shooting sports?
So in depending on the call, because I think there's this assumption that just because there's video that automatically the MD, RM, or whoever makes a call immediately from it. Like it's not an absolute thing. It's like, yes, you can use video. I do believe, yes, you should be able to use video for evidence. but obviously it's not necessarily going to result in a decent call. Like, let's say, like if, for example, in your case, it was very clear, scrubbed through the video, watched every bit of it, and saw that, yeah, there is, unless there is a weird, like, time warp happening, or like, you had Adobe After Effects and cropped yourself out and
Yeah.
put yourself somewhere else on the stage, then it would have been a hard call to make. But I saw it, it made sense. Otherwise, what would have happened if I couldn't, and per the PCSL rules, if I couldn't make a determination from that video, but enough of a determination to be like, yes, that doesn't feel right, but I can't determine the exact time, then you'd award the shooter a reshoot. So it's not an automatic like, oh yeah, it's on the video, then it's gospel. No, it's just an aid to the MD. And I think that I'm not sure what the genesis of the USPSA ruling for that, but I'm assuming it was done before the age of smartphones. So now we can clearly see it, and it does aid in the MD's decision. And yeah, I think it's a good thing, but obviously it aids. It does not create the decision, like, straight up. Like, kind of like a good example I think we talked about is, what if it's a foot fault call? If I can see clearly that a foot is completely outside of the freaking fault line, then yes, I can 100% make a call off of that, or 100% in. Like, it's not absolute, but it's 100% helpful. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I thought it's a very common sense move. And it makes sense with modern technology. It's worth mentioning that you can only use video evidence in calls that help the shooter. You can't enforce it. You can't look at video and then retroactively enforce a DQ or a bunch of other things. And I agree with you. I think the video evidence, because camera angles can be wonky, right? Isn't really great in terms of things that you need to characterize, like spatial distance and positioning and stuff. But a simple like time change I thought that worked extremely well.
It worked great. And I think we're going to continue seeing that as a beneficial thing until we figure out how to deep fake our own faces onto, like, say, Nate Staskowitz or freaking Joel Turner's body, but we don't have the technology for that yet.
I mean, I'm just going to start airdropping all my videos into Chat GPT so that AI magic.
That's a cool freaking website. I'll be honest, it's cool. I got Matt. You should probably input there. Why did I get 25? Well, something likes. It could probably tell you that. Yeah.
Thanks for the reminder.
Oh, man. Everyone's catching strays today.
Hey, Matt, honestly, you're at a point where freaking your performance will always be superimposed. You could win a freaking national level match, and then the first thing people notice will always be the Matt Gunlock. And so I think you've done yourself a strange situation where your personality is all you need.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and that beard's working for you too,
So so I have two questions. I kind of added one, and I have to ask because I know what it was like whenever I hosted matches and I had like a former boss show up and shoot the match. Was there a level of nervousness with me being there and being the match director, hosting the match, knowing, hey, I have my former boss here shooting a match, how is he going to criticize it and all that kind of stuff? Or was it just like excitement, like, hey, what did you think? What's some pointers?
It was 100% excitement. Like, I saw it as you came by to support what I was doing, what we were doing. I was excited for you to see what the team was up to. And I like feedback. I like criticism. I enjoy those things because, like, anyone who's ever experienced a plateau in anything in life, like, you want to be able to break through that, or at least mitigate it, or even have some level of prophylaxis prior to it ever happening. So I was excited, 100% excited for you to be there. And, I was welcoming of, and all the feedback you gave me, like, it's going to enable me to make things even better, which I am kind of into. I am super into making things better. It's one of my hobbies. I'm not always successful, but I always try. Yeah, it was a positive thing. And that's why I called you out at the beginning of the match brief that you were wearing a different jersey and you betrayed us.
I didn't betray you. I just retired from you guys.
It's semantics. You can
Uh,
extend it.
Here's one criticism. Whenever I say, hey, this person's going to come shoot, hey, move us over to this squad. And then we become the largest squad of the match. Don't listen to me ever again. Just don't listen to me.
I did not see a whole lot of issues with match flow. I was actually hoping to catch up to you guys, but that would have been 2 squads away. No, the match flowed just well. That was my biggest fear. Like, holy shit.
And that's usually my fear. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's usually my biggest fear. And that's usually the downfall of a lot of matches, not having a good match flow. And like just talking to Jason Byerly about that type of stuff is like, that's one of the biggest things he focuses on is like, hey, if this stage is going to go this long, what can I do for the next stage? And is there going to be a backup here? What can I do? And like, so, and I take note of a lot of that stuff. And it's like, am I okay with him, making this stage a little bit longer just to give them the experience? Or do I want them to, shoot their stage and move on? And it's a very fine balance that you have to have. And I think it worked out really well. There's a couple times we had, the squad behind us catch up, but for the most part, like we had a very good squad. We had a very fast squad and everybody was resetting. There's a couple times where I saw only like 3 people out there. I was like, hey, I need people out there to reset. Like this isn't going to reset itself. But
I got a resurgent.
No. We don't do that no more. It's funny. I'll still come around to the office sometimes, and like I'll walk into the battalion, and there was one time in particular, like one of the admin clerks, she saw me. She's like, "Hey, Gunny." I was like, "No, we don't do that anymore. It's Matt now."
Remember the time when you called me when I was doing field day stuff? As soon as like I was in field day mode, and you called me, I was like, "Hey, Gunny." I was like, "Fuck."
Alex, is he still on your phone as Gunny?
No, he's on my phone as GY capital SGT Gunlock.
Okay.
I have no time I'm busy. I'm making TSRs. I don't have time to change people's names in my phone. Gosh. But like I was happy the match flowed. Like I saw the time when I was on our 3rd stage and I literally had a moment to myself. I was like, yes. And like at a local match, it's weird. I have this, like, I'm starting to have this almost like love-hate relationship for good flow, because I notice that if I have at least one holdup during the match, just one holdup, one stage where I'm waiting for the other squad to finish, it actually gives me time to bullshit with my homies. Yep. Like the time when that happened, I was like, perfect. So I ran over to the other squad and started bullshitting with people. Obviously, if it happens every single stage, then things get dumb and everyone gets disgruntled. But, it flowed nice. I was scared of that, especially for the 2-gun match, because, like, thank God freaking, it worked out as well.
All right. So one of the other questions I have for you is has there been an outreach of any match directors in the local area about hosting their own PCSL matches?
Not yet. I did see some comments about like other people hoping they'd see that in their area. So I don't know if the match has gotten out to as many people. I think maybe it's still in the process of getting out to other people, but sooner or later, people are going to see that if like affiliating with Max is as simple as like just letting him know you want to get some targets and do stuff like, for example, Maine, right? I think they beat us to having the first PCSL match on the East Coast. But like Max was just tracking, they got some targets. They probably did hold one, but it's very easy. It's extremely easy. And the rules in the divisions are super accessible. I think match directors, like if they're trying to fill in an extra weekend of the month, it's easy. You just got to get the targets, freaking go through the rules, talk to Max, may also be accepting that there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, like as I experienced, like in setting up the match. And so no one's reached out to me yet. And if they just went straight to Max, that's even easier, because it would have been a simple, hey, I'm going to divert you over to Mr. Leograndis. But not yet. But if they do, I'd be happy to let them know what was up. And cool thing about PCSL, if the guy I'm talking to is from the 3-gun world, I can easily, since I'm in both worlds now, I can easily say, like, well, compared to 3-gun, and if it's a USPSA guy, well, compared to USPSA, and it's a very easy transition. It's super, super chill.
So, as we wrap this up, is there anything you'd like to, leave the listeners with?
So I think depending, I'm going to target any listeners that are especially in the 3-gun world, where you want to especially if we're real right now, we if the 3-gun community is currently scrambling, trying to figure out how to continue the growth of the sport, even with all the stuff we're going through. Like, we're still recovering from a primer crisis. Stuff's getting more and more expensive. I'm gonna have to quote Adam Maxwell on the importance of the grassroots of a sport. Kind of paraphrasing at this point. The stuff that Jason Barley does down at CGGR, the kind of matches there are in California, the Superstition Mystery Mountain Crowd in Arizona, and the local matches that Minnesota puts up. That's where we should put a focus on. Like, a sport is built on local matches are a big freaking deal, and that's something we got to learn from the USPSA side. Like, it's not everyone can afford to go to a major. Not everyone has that level of participation, because everybody has a level of participation. Not everyone's trying to beat Joe Farewell. Not everyone is trying to be the next freaking Nate Staskowitz. Some people just want to shoot the sport where it's accessible. So I think if anyone listening needs to hear this or already knows this, I'm just here to validate your concerns. Like, the local arena is extremely important. In fact, I would consider it, even to a certain extent, more important than how many majors you can hold. So that's just kind of how I see it. And this match was one, trying to test that theory out, and at the same time kind of prove a couple points to myself on the health of a sport. And it definitely validated a couple concerns that I had. So yeah, like, if you don't know how to do one, look for somebody who does, because you can't breed another Jason Byerly, but you can 100% shoot him a message and ask him how he does what he does. So or a Lee Grandis, or yeah.
So I like how you said that, especially with, grassroots and everything should be focused on the local level. And it's funny that you say that, because the other day we were recording Eamon Lin, the president for USPSA, and
Okay.
he said his role that he's trying to take as president of USPSA is, he told us about 8% of the USPSA membership goes and shoots nationals. That's relatively small in comparison. And his focus is, how can he make it more accessible and more enjoyable for the local competitors, for the guys that aren't going to go to the big matches, the guys who are going to be competing at that local level? That's where a big part of his focus is, because that's the bulk of the membership.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I guess and I agree with that. I guess the reason I can see this a lot clearer than most other people is, I'm going to use, and I think both of you guys can agree with me on this, the most heat you can get at a Marine Corps marksmanship competition is in the National Capital Region. There's a lot of heat. Like, you go to this match, you better come in prepared. You cannot not bring snacks and electrolytes to this match and expect to do well. The National Capital Region, a lot of those competitors that aren't on teams are Quantico practical shooters. Also people who shoot down at Chesapeake, the CQB guys, all that stuff. And they are the powerhouse of the NCR match, and that's kind of what I see, and I've been able to see. So hopefully that's also additional weight to kind of my opinion on this all.
Yeah. Well, hey, Alex, I really appreciate this. This was really fun. It's always good to talk to you, and it's always good to pick your brain on stuff. Even whenever I was on the team, I would always, get your thoughts on things, and you're always a good sounding board. So I do appreciate you coming out here. I do really appreciate you kind of, reinvigorating the 3-gun here in Virginia, because it's something that's had to have it's something that has needed to happen for a while. So we appreciate that. And to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions about PCSL and Quantico practical shooters, reach out to us. We'll put you in contact with Alex and even Max Leograndis. Other than that, please let us know what you think, on Apple, Spotify, whatever you listen to, leave a comment, give us a rating, let us know how we're doing, and we hope you have a good one.